Richard A. Boxall. Welcome to the Unofficial British Artists Top 20. In today's show, I'm going to dissect the Brit Awards, review the new album by Gorillaz, The Mountain, but first, here is your Top 20. At number 20, it's a non-mover for Haven featuring Caitlin Aragon with I Run. At number 19, it's a re-entry for Calvin Harris and Kasabian with Release the Pressure. And we have Kate Bush down one place at number 18 with Wuthering Heights. We have a new entry for Sky Newman with Walk at number 17. Miles Smith and Niall Horan Drive Safe at number 16, which is down 2. Fleetwood Mac with Landslide are also down 2, whereas Ewan McVicker Share the House is up 5 places to number 14. Sienna Spiro is down 1 with Die on This Hill at number 13. Charli XCX is at number 12 with Dying for You, which is down 2 places. And Sonny, Fodera, DOD and Baskcomb Think About Us is a non-mover at number 11. Here's your top 10. At number 10, it's Charli XCX, Chains of Love, down 5. At number 9, it's a new entry for RAYE with Nightingale Lane. At number 8, it's a new entry for Olivia Dean with The Hardest Part. There's a non-mover at number 7 for Dave and Tems with Raindance. Ray's Where Is My Husband is a non-mover at number 6. Harry Styles with Aperture is at number 5, which is up 3 places. Number 4, Olivia Dean, Man I Need is a non-mover. Olivia Dean is also at number 3, down 1 with So Easy to Fall in Love. And at number 2, Pink Pantheress is up 1 with Stateside, which means your number 1 is a non-mover, Rein Me In by Sam Fender and Olivia Dean. Well, it's been a vaguely interesting week for the Unofficial British Artists Top 20. So first I'm going to talk about Calvin Harris and Kasabian have re-entered the chart with Release the Pressure. It's at number 19 this week. Its previous best last time into the chart was 15. Again, it seems to be there because of the general dearth of British tracks in the charts. More on that later. The other thing I said last week, which I want to correct, is I questioned whether Wuthering Heights by Kate Bush had entered the chart as a result of the movie Wuthering Heights coming out, or the fact it was used in Stranger Things. And of course, I was getting it muddled up with Running Up That Hill, because as far as I know, Wuthering Heights hasn't been used in Stranger Things, and even if it has, it wouldn't have entered the charts because of that now. We've got some genuine new entries in the charts this week, 3 of them, which is really good. So we've got Sky Newman's Walk in at number 17, which I really like. And then we've got what will always be something that will make me excited is there's a new RAYE track in the charts. She's at number 9 in my chart with Nightingale Lane. I love it. It's a great track. And the thing is, with RAYE songs, they tend to grow on me. I'll give you an example. The previous song, which is Where's My Husband, which is currently number 6, was actually the opening song she played at Glastonbury. And I did watch that. Probably not live. I probably watched it on iPlayer afterwards, and I certainly wasn't there. And I do remember thinking, it's a funny one to start with. I don't know this one. And of course, now when I watch the set, it's like, it's Where Is My Husband? Wow. I love her tracks, usually the first time I listen to, and then they grow on me. So, as I say, I suspect Nightingale Lane will just continue to grow. And the other big new entry this week is Olivia Dean's The Hardest Part at number 8. I'm just going to have a very quick look to see where those new entries are in the regular chart. So in the regular chart, you have got... they're quite low, actually. So The Hardest Part by Olivia Dean is at number 19, and RAYE's Nightingale Lane is at number 20. And then if I find the Sky Newman track, that's even further down. Let's have a look. Number 48, so it wouldn't even have been in the top 40. But it is nice to have some actual new songs appearing in there. Let me look. So you've still got Landslide by Fleetwood Mac, which was used in Stranger Things. You've still got 2 out of the 3 Charli XCX tracks in the chart. And unfortunately, Olivia Dean, because of this rule that you can only have 3 songs by one artist in the official top 100, Olivia Dean's new entry of The Hardest Part has knocked out her own song a couple of minutes. What else can I say? Aperture by Harry Styles has gone up a little bit, so it's gone up from 8 to 5 in my chart. And again, I'll just have a quick look on the real chart as well. It's, oh no, that's number 50. I'm right down the wrong end of the chart. I can prepare this, you know. Yeah, it's gone up from 16 to 10. I suspect that's because he was the opening performance on the Brit Awards. And it's quite a fun performance, actually, although I believe some people have criticised it, but I liked it. So, yeah, and that's what, just looking at other bits and pieces. Yeah, so, and that's kind of where we're at the moment. Pink Pantheress is now at number 2. So, her and Olivia Dean, So Easy to Fall in Love, and Pink Pantheress Stateside have switched positions. So, it's a slow build for Pink Pantheress. I think when she's been on my chart for 6 weeks, the very first week she was, let me have a look, when I started the chart she was at number 8, and she's been sort of slowly climbing. So do we have a potential future number 1 in this chart there? And also worth mentioning that she is actually she's only number 4, so she's gone down in the real chart. But yeah, the other thing, so the songs that have left the chart this week, as I mentioned earlier, Olivia Dean's A Couple of Minutes has dropped out after 5 weeks. Sienna Spiro has dropped out after 5 weeks with You Stole the Show. Charli XCX is Always Everywhere has been on 2 weeks and it's dropped out. And The Cure's Boys Don't Cry, which is the other hangover from Stranger Things, has also dropped out. Of the chart this week. At number 10, if we look at the amount of British music in the official top 10, 5 out of the 10 tracks are British, so that's gone up because it was only 4 last week, so that's an improvement, although it's still not as good as when I came back sort of doing this 5 or 6 weeks ago when it was 6. Out of the top 29 of the tracks are by British artists. That's only 45%, so that's the same as last week, but that's not great. And then the top 40, only 15 out of the 40 tracks in the top 40 are by British artists. That's down a further 5% on last week, at 37.5%. So that's quite disappointing, actually. And the bottom actual chart position, so my number 20, which is the Haven featuring Caitlin Aragon, I Run, my number 20 is actually 57 in the regular chart. So again, that's the same as last week, so that hasn't got any better or worse. The other thing I thought I'd quickly track is how often British artists are at number 1, because this used to be quite a rare event, but so far this year we've had 10 charts, and in 7 of them a British artist has been at number 1. So at the beginning of the year you had RAYE, Where Is My Husband, at number 1. You've had Dave and Tems with Raindance at number 1 twice. I think it was there once. Then Harry Styles got to number 1 with Aperture. And then Dave and Tems knocked it off again. This is the actual charts I'm talking about. And then we've also had Sam Fender and Olivia Dean, Rein Me In, has now been at the top of the official charts for 3 weeks. So as I say, actually 7 out of 10 British, 7 out of 10 weeks this year in the official top 100, the number 1 single has been British. Now that's really, really good, because that's something I tracked a couple of years ago and it really, really wasn't that strong. And so the only non-British artists that have been official number 1s this year are Joe, End of Beginning, which is all, you know, related to Stranger Things, was there for 2 weeks, and Taylor Swift's Opalite got to number 1, despite the fact it's been around for ages, but she released a really quite fun video featuring, oddly enough, a lot of British people, and it was the same guests that were on the Graham Norton show with her. So yeah, so it is disappointing. And the other thing that disappointed me somewhat, you can tell when it's not a great week, when the number 1 album doesn't really infiltrate the top 20. So the number 1 album this week is the one I'm going to talk about shortly. It's by Gorillaz and it's called The Mountain. And a few of the tracks did end up in the official top 100, but not enough. If I just type it in. So there's a track called The Moon Cave, which is at number 72 of the official chart. That's from that album. And there's 3 actually. Then there's Orange County is at number 94. No, it's only 2, sorry. And Orange County is at number 94. So you compare that with when Charli XCX came in. She had 3 tracks that made it into my top 20. So it's nice that the Gorillaz tracks have entered the top 100, but none of them high enough to enter my top 20, sadly. So without further ado, I think the next thing we're going to talk about is my album of the week, which is The Mountain by Gorillaz. Now, if you mention the band Gorillaz to me, I would immediately think of songs from their first album, such as Clint Eastwood, and also probably from their second album titled Demon Days, which gave us classic tracks like Feel Good Inc., which actually reappeared in the official Top 100 as recently as last year. However, if you told me that their latest album, released last week and titled The Mountain, was their 9th studio album, I would be shocked. Indeed, their previous album was released in 2023 and got to number 1 on the official album chart. I had no idea. In my head, Gorillaz are an act from 20 years ago. I did not know that they've been releasing material regularly for the last 25 years. And it's not them that's out of date, it's me. I have listened to the official Top 40 consistently since the pandemic, but I would say that I only started looking at the album chart, and very specifically the British acts within it, in any detail in the last couple of years. Gorillaz launched as a virtual band in 2001. The band members were represented by animated characters in their videos, and although actually the real musicians include people like Damon Albarn from Blur and Remy Kabaka, and they're still going with that. As part of the marketing campaign for this album, Gorillaz had commissioned a 9-minute animated movie that features the original characters, the original animated musicians and music from the album. The animated movie is called The Mountain, the Moon Cave and the Sad God, and it's definitely worth a look. The animation is absolutely gorgeous. Apparently it's all hand animated, no CGI, no AI, it's beautiful. Yes, that's worth a look. And honestly, so is the album. The Mountain is very different from what I expected from Gorillaz, having only heard their earlier stuff. And I'm equally sure that if I listened to the whole of the 8-album back catalogue, I would probably hear an evolution from what I was used to into what they've become now. Whatever. The album feels very now as though it were a deliberate musical antithesis to the rise of the far right. Many of the tracks were recorded in India and feature Indian musicians, and indeed the title of the album is written on the cover in and let me get this pronounced correctly, in Devanagari script, which is one of the official scripts of India. It feels like it celebrates multiculturalism, as well as lyrics in English. There are some in Arabic, Spanish, Hindi and Yoruba. Yes, I had to look that up as well. So, does it create a barrier to enjoyment if, like me, your main and indeed only language is English? Not a bit of it. It is a sad album. Melancholy is probably a better word. There is a wonderful musical cohesion to it. Themes and motives appear between tracks. So in some ways, it sounds like you're listening to a movie soundtrack. The loss of people that Gorillaz have worked with before was very much on the writers' minds when they recorded this album, and as such, many of these people feature using material recorded for previous works, but not used. That includes people like Dennis Hopper, Tony Allen and Marquis Smith. I've read somewhere they wanted to use material of the same nature originally performed or recorded with them in their collaboration with Lou Reed, but apparently had stipulated that nobody should use recordings of him after his death, and so the estate declined the request. That's fair enough. The first track, The Mountain, which is also the name of the album, is purely instrumental. It features a lot of Indian instrumentation and artists. It's a kind of nice, mournful lament that runs gorgeously into the next track, The Moon Cave, which continues this feel but introduces the more modern synth sounds that you associate with Gorillaz. And then the next track, which is a collaboration with Sparks of all people, I really wasn't expecting that, is more what you traditionally expect from Gorillaz, but you haven't had a hard change. You've had the very musical Indian-y feel track 1. Track 2 is very much a fusion of what you expect and and the new Indian instrumentation they're using on this album. And then track 3 kind of goes more in, as I say, more in the normal direction. The Hardest Thing and Norwich County, which are tracks 4 and 5, are so linked that actually they share lyrics. This is the songs, or these are the songs that are the most blatant talk of loss. Alban sings, the hardest thing is to say goodbye to someone you love, several times during the song. The Indian instruments reappear, And it feels hard to listen to in places, not because it's bad, it really isn't, but because it really ramps up the melancholy. There are 15 tracks in all on this album, and the final one, The Sad God, returns musically back to the very first track, so you feel you've been on a journey that has a beginning, a middle and an end, and that final track brings you full circle. It's great. There are some great collaborations on this as well. I like using the word great under. There's some wonderful collaborations on this album. I was genuinely pleased to see that Johnny Marr of The Smiths and Electronic is credited on several tracks as both a writer and a performer. So did I like it? I think it's pretty obvious that I did. It wasn't what I expected at all. But if I'm honest, I didn't know what to expect. But I ended up buying it on vinyl after my second listen. There is a gorgeous richness to production, and it should stir up some genuine emotions in the listener. I'm also really pleased that it did enter the album chart at number 1, and what's pleased me even more, I like saying pleased as well, don't I? You can tell this bit isn't as scripted as the other bit. I've just discovered that there is a special edition CD of the album that has 4 extra tracks on it, so I didn't listen to those extra tracks as part of this review, but I have ordered that CD and hope to listen to the extra songs later in the week. Seriously, if you don't want to take a risk on this album by buying it, certainly stream it. I really enjoyed it. I think I would say so far it's my favourite of the 3 albums I've listened to do this podcast. Next week, I'll be listening to and reviewing the new Harry Styles LP, Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally, which I'm fully expecting to debut at the top of the album chart, just like Gorillaz did this week. I'm going to quickly touch on the Brits before I end the show. So obviously the Brits is music awards that concentrate on British artists. There are some international categories as well. But the album of the year, British album of the year, which was presented by Jeff Goldblum, don't you know, went to The Art of Loving by Olivia Dean. Looking at the other people, the only one I think I would have been interested to see win out of the list other than Olivia Dean was possibly Lily Allen with West End Girl. The song of the year was Rein Me In by Sam Fender and Olivia Dean. It's still number 1. It was number 1 then. It was number 1 now. There were some really good songs in that list again. So you got Messy by Lola Young, Nice to Meet You by Miles Smith. What's the other one I really liked? Azizan by Ed Sheeran. I don't hate that. Survive by Lewis Capaldi. Where's My Husband by RAYE. I would love that to have won, but RAYE had a couple of years ago, and I have a funny feeling she's going to come back. British Artist of the Year went to Olivia Dean. Again, I can't argue with that. I think she's done amazingly, and I'm really glad that Lola Young was nominated. She didn't win it, but she was nominated. Best Group was Wolf Alice, up against The Last Dinner Party, Pulp, Sleep Token and Wet Leg. I love the Pulp album. I've listened to 3 out of the 4 albums, I think. I loved Pulp's album last year. I loved The Last Dinner Party's album last year. I haven't listened to the Wolf Alice one, but I probably will now. Best Pop Act went to Olivia Dean, again up against RAYE, Lola Young, Lily Allen, Jade, which is fine. Best R&B Act was Salt, never heard of them. But then R&B doesn't tend to chart in the way that this does. The Best Dance Act was Fred Again, Skepta and Pluck Boy Max. I couldn't tell you which song that was for. But they beat FK Twigs, Pink Pantheress and Sammy Virgie. Sorry, I think we're going to hear more from Pink Pantheress. I've got this feeling she's up and coming. Best Alternative Rock Act was Sam Fender. I'm not going to go... Best Breakthrough Artist was Lola Young. I'm really pleased that she won something. I loved Messy, so this is good. Now, Best International Artist of the Year, Rosalia won it. Now, I listened to their performance and it was very interesting, so I am going to actually listen to that album. Of all the other artists in there, I would have liked Somber to win. Of all the others, you've got Doechii, CMAT, Chapel Roan I like, but I do think she hasn't released anything great that's new. The song that did really well this year is actually from an original album. It's just hung around in the charts. Whereas 12 to 12 by Somber is one of my favourite songs from last year. International Song of the Year was Apt by Rose and Bruno Mars. It was up against things like Pink Pony Club by Chapel Roan, Ordinary by Alice Warren. I actually do know all of these songs because I've been listening to the charts this year. And I think of all the ones that were nominated, I think it was the right one to win. It was up there. It nearly got to number one at the same time as Lola Young early last year with Messi. So I'm really glad that it didn't get to number one, but it's still a cracking track. And that's all I really... Oh, I'm going to mention Songwriter of the Year was Noel Gallagher. Producer of the Year was Pink Pantheress. Outstanding contribution to music was Mark Ronson. And Lifetime Achievement Award was Dolly Parton. So... who won the most? Is there the most winners were so Olivia Dean won 4 awards this year, so congratulations to her. Well, that's pretty much it for me for today. What I would like to do is nominate my British single of the week, and that's clearly going to be Nightingale Lane by RAYE. It's utterly marvellous. But I also have to nominate an international single of the week, and I'm just skimming through the ones that come out, and I'm really not sure this week. I think it's going to have to be Risk It All by Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars is a real talent. He's been involved in a lot of really good songs. So there we go. International Song of the Week, or International Song Recommendation of the Week, Risk It All by Bruno Mars, and British Song of the Week, Nightingale Lane by RAYE. Thank you for listening. I'll be back at the same time next week.